All right, you're in the home stretch. Thank you very much for sticking around. Really, really appreciate it. I'm Joel Pobar. I work on HHVM, I've worked on Hack, and I work on developer tooling along with my cohort here, Joel Beales, another Joel. We were going to dive straight into kind of Joel's Steve Jobs one more thing moment. But before we do that, I thought it would be nice to spend a few minutes just kind of resetting some context for you. I met a bunch of you outside over sodas or whatever at lunchtime, and quite a few good questions were asked politely. So that's great. One of the kind of themes that came out of those questions was like, why are you investing in this stuff, right? And I thought about that, and I thought there's kind of two dimensions of investment that we've talked about today. The first one is efficiency. And, there was a picture of the data center that I think Ed showed just before. We have several of these power-hungry dev servers around the world. Turns out that, people wanting to see their cat photos is expensive for us. So HHVM is going to exist and keep existing with the pure, one of its kind of core goals is to make that stuff like cat sharing, cat photo sharing as quick as possible. And we don't plan to give up. We're just going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And the other stuff we're talking about today is Hack. We also like to keep our many hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of developers at Facebook as productive as they possibly can be. More productivity, the better. And you've heard a bunch about move fast. Do we even have it on the wall? There it is. Move fast and break things. I hope we do less of the break things and more of the move fast. But yeah, move fast is what we care about. And I think the really interesting part about Hack is it pulled some of the awesome stuff from the static world, pulled it into kind of the dynamic world without the cost, right, of waiting for some sort of compiler to take minutes to give you a binary. So then there's the kind of open source aspect on top of that. Why open source this stuff? And there's numerous reasons for doing this, many of which we can talk about over beers. But for us, contributions matter a lot. And the simile that I like to use is the LLVM project. Anyone heard about the LLVM project? A few hands go up. So it's this awesome compiler project that it has a bunch of corporate sponsors along with a bunch of individual contributors, and its core goal in life is to be the best compiler optimization project around. We would love to kind of get there for HHVM. That would be ideal for us. So contributions matter, but also adoption matters for us as well, because when you guys adopt it, you tell us how much it sucks. You should do better, or you're not supporting this function, or have you decided to use this kind of tooling or approach, and that benefits our developers internally as well. So a bit of context setting for kind of why we care. But we do have more stuff coming, and so the last kind of 10 minutes we'll just walk through something that we've had on the boil for a while. We're not open sourcing it. We're kind of not announcing it today. We're just as a preview of what we plan to release in kind of late summer. And it's around some of the Hack tooling, or the tooling infrastructure that Hack gives us. So I guess without further ado, Beales, take it away, man.
All right. So we've just landed in the Facebook IDE here, and we're going to do some work. I've been working lately on Joelbook, which is a competitor to Facebook. It's another social network. I haven't gotten too far on this yet. This is my friends list, and there's nothing here yet. But my plan is to multitask and do the presentation and work on this at the same time. So let's go back over here, and I've got this search at the top here that's really fast to open up stuff, but I'm going to open up my home controller. So here I am, and I want to write this generate content function to add to my friends list, because I don't have any friends, and that's kind of sad. So I have autocomplete right here in the editor. This is a web-based editor, and it's doing all the autocomplete client side. We've compiled the entire hack type checker to JavaScript, and it's pulling in all the dependencies it needs onto the client so it doesn't lag. At the same time, this is happening asynchronously in a web worker, so we don't have to worry about the editor lagging to do hack stuff when I'm type checking or whatever. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get what user I am, and I'm going to get my friends. And I'm going to put that into a variable here. We'll call it friends. Now, I can mouse over this without even saving, and it tells me exactly what that's giving me. It's a vector of user. I can also find references of everyone that's calling my friends if I'm curious. And if I save this, it'll get this reference as well. And I can jump right to them if I'm curious, just like I could in any other typed language. Now let's actually make it do something and save this. So I have this friends to display, and I'm just going to add all here. Come back here, hit refresh, and there we go. My friends are all here. I'm much happier. I can also jump to definitions on things if I'm curious how something works. So if I go Control B right on friends, it just took me right here where I can see that I've actually faked this and it's all hard-coded. So I'm going to close that and pretend that I didn't show you that. So next, let's add a little bit more. I noticed a major flaw in Joelbook right now. There's several people here that their names aren't Joel. So we're going to fix that right now with filter. And we're going to do a lambda expression in here. And this, it'll get autocompletion on this too, and we can do get first name, and we'll check if it's equivalent to Joel. Save that, reload. Much better. There's more. Now we're gonna set a breakpoint and actually debug this web request in HHVM right now. So I'll set a breakpoint to this add friends to display. I'll attach my debugger. I'll hit go. Come back over here, hit reload. Come back over here, and we can see that we've broken on this line. This was very easy as a developer. I didn't have to launch any external tool or anything. And I can see my whole call stack here and my friends. I can go inside here. I can explore all the data. I can jump around. It's all very exciting. And that is basically it. There's a lot more that we've got in here that I'm not demonstrating today, but we're excited to show you guys down the road.
So, yeah, so we aren't, we're not quite there yet. We kind of need to do a lot of, sanding of the rough edges. But yeah, our hope is to kind of release the source to this probably towards the end of summer. But yeah, the high level bit is that it's tightly integrated with HHVM, tightly integrated with HHVM's debugger support, and of course hack in the browser as JavaScript is pretty awesome. So yeah, we hope you like it. Questions, and I guess questions for any of us, because I think we'll do questions and then you'll do a wrap up, and then I think it's cool. Okay, questions.
There was a question on Twitter earlier if this was built similar to using like Atom or some of the other, or if it's just completely homegrown JS for the IDE.
Well, it's not like, does Atom work in the browser? I can't remember.
It's a browser. Yeah.
It's what, sorry?
It's GitHub's browser IDE.
Oh, okay. Oh, good for them. Yeah, this has been going on for probably, this team's been, what, a year and a bit, I think?
Something like that.
Something like that. So it's been a while. And a lot of a lot of internal developers at Facebook use it. I mean, it's not like it's mandated. It's kind of really tough to pry Vim and Emacs from the cold, dead hands of these people. But we're trying. Any other questions? Come on, there's got to be some good ones in there somewhere.
Do you have plans to integrate with most of the big IDEs, and also plans to put have a debugger, just like he showed, integrated with these IDEs?
So we would love you guys to kind of help us out with getting IDE support. If it's Sublime or PHP Storm or whatever it is. The purpose of kind of Julian showing off the HH client -- find refs and so on is so that it should be reasonably easy for you guys to wire this up to whatever IDE you want. And then there's the grammar for hack, so you can get syntax coloring and so on. We'll get that to you as well. We're working on that. The debugger is we don't support the kind of common protocol that PHP has. We have a command line debugger. That's about the best we've got so far. But if there's support for it, if you guys want it, then we can try and build it. I think Xdebug is the protocol, right?
Are you guys actually going to do like pthreads and full multi-threading in Hack, or is that just going to be something that we're going to have to do through PHP using pthreads extension or something?
Threading in Hack. Who wants to take that one? Peroski, up the back.
Who's going to give it a
shot? Okay, great. So PHP's and Hack in turns concurrency model is request-based, and actually this has a lot of nice properties. So the request starts empty. It builds up what it's doing. When it's done, it throws everything away. And so it's kind of neat that requests can't interfere with each other. And also, HHVM, the runtime, currently takes advantage of the fact that each request has a separate heap. So it really helps with the performance of, at the end of the request, for garbage collection purposes, we're able to throw everything away. And as I mentioned, I know a lot of people are like, oh, we don't have threading, but it's kind of a feature to make it so that you have to do something extra or special to make it so that one request can communicate with another. And by default, you're compartmentalized. So this is something that kind of makes it more stable, makes it harder for you to make your website accidentally, have one request corrupt some global data structure, and then now your web page is misbehaving until you have to restart the process. That said, there are ways to pass information between requests. So for client mode, we have an experimental API we're still working on that lets your script spin up multiple new requests, and then data can be marshaled between the two. But to be clear, the data is being marshaled, so you don't have regular, PHP arrays or hack collections that are directly modifiable by multiple requests at the same time. So we might explore it. It might be something that we look into eventually. But at the moment, HHVM and Hack just aren't designed for the same concurrency model that people who are familiar with Java and C# are used to.
Any other questions? Yes.
Are there any known issues with daemonizing as opposed to processing typical requests?
Who wants to take that one?
What do you mean by daemonizing versus a server? Sorry. What do you mean by demonizing versus a server? And we stole your mic.
Well, with our use case specifically, we have some processes that just sort of, in a really high level, run in a while true, and then we start them up with an init script, and they do work, so like a work queue, for example. So you wouldn't actually have a user building up a heap and going through that, so you kind of always have the heap around, right? So like users may throw work onto that queue, and you could do stuff with that, or sort of a vague question, I guess.
Okay, cool. So this is basically how do you deal with long-running processes. We have some of these. We prefer the server model. We've found internally that it's much better if you have a server sitting there that handles all of these requests in a request response model instead of a while true, like just take web requests like a normal person would and just have an async server sitting off in the back end. We do support long-running processes. We have garbage collection for this exact reason, blah, 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 blah. But I would highly recommend you just run it as a server behind the scenes. It won't take user requests, but it'll just take your own requests. That's what we do in Facebook. It works very well.
if there's no questions, how about statements? Like, does anyone want to say, like, you guys are, I don't know, whatever, right? What do you need? Is a good question for us to ask you.
Ask for stuff.
Here we go.
I want more functional programming. Flat map, partition, group by, all of that. As soon as possible.
So, Drew, get the hell out. Go back to work. You're not coming to the hackathon. Make it happen. Yeah, I guess we could do it at the hackathon. Yeah, I'm with you, buddy. I'm with you. And any other statements? What else do you want? What else do you need?
So did you choose the name to make it actually impossible to Google?
So there's a funny story behind this name. 2 years ago, I was brand new at Facebook, and from time to, I guess I don't need to be on the stage, but from time to time, we do, we get together and we have a few beers and we just, talk about code like normal nerds, right? And I think might have been the first time I met Julian or really hung out with him at all, and we were talking about some of these ideas about making PHP safer and what if this turned into a language and blah, blah, blah. And they were kind of casting around for a name, and I think there was even beginning to be a vote on what the possible name of this thing could be. And there were no good ideas. And this was, again, 2 years ago. I had just joined Facebook. This was only a few months after Facebook moved into this campus. So they had just finished painting the word hack on the concrete outside. And they had just finished at an earlier hackathon putting up a big sign called The Hacker Company up on one of the buildings, which you can see up there now. And, there's all this talk about hacking and stuff. So over beers, I said, hey, well, we have to call this hack, right? And we thought that was a good placeholder name at the time. And, as it got picked up, as, you saw the charts, it got picked up and the placeholder basically stuck. We couldn't come up with a better idea, so there's hack.
I think at one point, wasn't one of the candidates Bike Shed?
PHQ is my favorite.
PHQ.
How would you pronounce PHQ?
Yeah.
Love the statement. That was great. Anyone else got? Oh, here we go. Another one.
What are your thoughts on like short lambda syntax from Scala, like with underscores and whatnot? Possibility.
We have triple arrow.
Hi. Actually that exact question has come up a couple times internally. Ultimately, we decided that we wanted to have a feature that could be a little bit more flexible. So the underscore scheme, works when you have one parameter. But if you want to have multiple parameters, or you want to do a couple other things that don't fit with the underscore scheme, we wanted something that would work for those cases as well. And we had enough cases like that in Facebook's code base and other code bases we'd seen where we wanted the automatic capturing, we wanted the brevity, we wanted something better than PHP 5.3's closures. And also for folks that are familiar with more imperative languages, the arrow scheme has been used in a couple languages like C#, whereas the underscore scheme is a little less common. To people, it's a little less palatable to someone who's never seen hack but is familiar with PHP. So those are the main reasons we went with the short lambda syntax as it is today.
Oh.
One quick question I had was, do we have any benchmarks or stats on how PHP compares to hack on the HHVM engines?
Well, I think Ed mentioned before that hack and PHP are kind of equivalent. There's plenty of people out there talking about PHP versus HHVM. A lot of them point to micro benchmarks, which in our view is cheating because really that's not a real workload. That's a micro benchmark workload. We can't run Facebook on the PHP out there today, so we can't really tell. But our guess is we're about 9x faster for that workload. But it's a big code base, very memory intensive, lots of data, et cetera, et cetera. Mileage may vary. We've seen kind of 2x in WordPress for instance, a lot of people point to 4 or 5x. Run it yourself. Tell us.
Did you guys do any quantified, like, in terms of productivity and happiness in terms of developer adoption? Like, did you quantify, like, how much productive your developers are versus vanilla PHP versus Hack?
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. Yeah, a lot of anecdotal feedback has come through. I look at stuff like autocomplete, the IDE, final references, jumping around in code. I think if you have a large code base like we do, that stuff is invaluable, right? Absolutely invaluable, particularly to the enormous amount of new employees that show up every week. And the first thing they do is like, okay, how do I wrap my head around this code base? And having tools like that is awesome for just drilling in. So I cannot put a number on 2x more productive. No, sorry.
As a Facebook engineer,
yes, it's a tough problem, very tough problem.
Well, as a Facebook engineer, I can say that whenever I restart the Hack server, the type checker server, my productivity goes to literally 0. Until it goes back up, I cannot do anything else.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure. Sorry. I see.
Without the type checker, I can't do anything else.
Without the type checker, I can't do anything else. Yep. Do we have time for, yeah, I'd love to see more like statements. Tell us what you need from us to adopt or to contribute. So think about that while this guy asks his question.
So one thing I need is a way to work with Hack that doesn't involve installing Homebrew onto OS X Mavericks. Either an online IDE, your own created IDE like what Joel showed, just anything but Homebrew.
Yep, you're dead right. So yes, we're kind of working hard on OS X and on Windows support, I think, as Sarah mentioned. We'll just keep pushing harder, and then yes, you'll get what you want. Coming soon. Someone? Oh, nope. Water? You sure? Okay. All right. Someone else had their. Oh, yeah.
I was just curious if you guys had like a list of things that need to be done that the community can start digging into.
I love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Yes.
I have like 100 things. So.
Where?
I'll go make a wiki page for you. Check
we'll get it done.
In an hour.
Yes, we'll start tonight. We'll start tonight. Great statement. Any other? Again, okay.
I remember when Google introduced Android, they offered a reward of $10 million to whoever wrote the best Android app. Are you guys thinking of anything like that for Hack? AKA, can I have $10 million?
So, yes, you can be one of the first early investors in Joelbook. That's your reward.